It is still raining outside, guys. We are still flooded in. We cannot go anywhere. And we had a power loss about 1.5 hours ago. No power on all phases, nothing. Well, of course, we have power, right? We are on 57% state of charge, all good, 360 watts we are using inside the house at the moment. Everything is fine, and we are even charging with 700 watts. Look at this. In today's video, we will have a look at the brand spanking new JK-BMS 4S version. This is for a 12 volt. This is for a 12 volt battery. It's brand new on the market, just released on 2-3 days ago or something. Of course, there is a link down in the description, and Hanksaw was also so kind to give you a $10 voucher if you spend more than $100 in their shop. Use the code OFFGRID to get $10 off. So that's a 10% discount if you buy something for $100. I link all the information down in the video description as always. I just want to mention this right at the beginning because some people don't watch the videos until the end. So they're missing all the good stuff. Well, and these are all the accessories which came with the 4S JK-BMS. We've got some power cables, 7 gauge, which is around 16 square millimeter, temperature probes, balance cables, the display with the on-off button, a little bracket, a little holder for the display, some terminal screws, and I think this is the connection cable for our display here. Okay, let me remove this sticker here. It's very nice from Nami to put this sticker on. Instead of flowers for Mother's Day, I received a JK-BMS 4S-8S. Brand new. It's the first one in the world. And we will have a look at it today. So that took me now 20 minutes to get this sticker off this BMS. I have wiped off the remainder of the glue, and unfortunately the printing goes away as well with the alcohol on it. So we can see this is the RS-485 and this is the GPS port, but I don't know what these two are. But I think it was in Chinese anyway. And this is our B-, B1, B2, B3. But the balance cable plug goes in one direction only into this port anyway. So it's not too bad. Don't put any stickers on here. I think eventually they will have the stickers with the specs like they have on the website. But this seems to be only printed on top of the aluminium at the moment. Alright, then let's have a look at the ports. What do we have? So here on the left, definitely our temperature sensors. See, all these sockets, they are unique anyway, so you can't mix them up. And we have this port for the display, goes in here. Yep, that fits. We don't have any RS-485 at the moment, we don't have a GPS. And I'm not sure what this one is here. It may be a heater port. Unfortunately, I have erased the Chinese writing on it. And this is obviously the balance connector for up to 8 battery cells. And here on the side, you can see on the right, we've got the B-, our battery negative. And on the left is the P-. And we have actually threaded terminals here. M6, everything is nicely soldered. It's very clean soldering. I like it. Yeah, they have soldered these, what is it, plates, like flat washers. And this is then where the main cable connects. And the good thing about this is now we can actually use a 35mm cable now and can easily attach this to our BMS if we want to. So I can have a double 35mm, which I probably would do because this is a 12 volt or 24 volt BMS. And the current can be up to 200 amps or even up to 350 amps. With this BMS here, this is crazy, right? And I'm not sure if I would trust the silicon cable, the 7 gauge wire, for a 200 amp continuous current. So I much prefer the 2x 35mm cable or even 50mm cable. But now with these screw terminals, we've got all the options. That is very nice. This bag. Oh, there's one. I went through the little gap here. Oh yeah, got it. So what do we have here? 4 M6 screws. potentially for these terminals. And I'm not sure what these ones are. They are for the display, for the bracket. Yes, the display goes onto this bracket, and then these are the screws for it. And this is for, can be only for here. Come on. Yep, that's where it goes. So you can mount this socket in your battery case and then just plug in the display if you want it. I was just going to say, this one doesn't fit any of them, but it goes into this cable. This is already the adapter cable for our display. Right, display cable, adapter. It goes into this funny little thing here, 6 pole plug, and this plugs into the display. And then we've got our on-off button here. I'm very keen to try this one out. Okay, let's have a very quick look at the AliExpress Hangsaw website, where we can see the 4S-8S BMS. And this BMS comes in 2 options. So one of them is not heated, and the other one has a H at the end, which is the heated version. Costs $6 more. So why not? So it says it here, it doesn't support serious connection and parallel connection of the BMS and other batteries. So I'm not 100% sure why it doesn't support parallel connections. I can potentially understand the serious connection because of the MOSFETs in the BMS, which cannot withstand the higher voltage then if one of the BMS turns off, but parallel should be no restrictions at all. So I will clarify this with Hangsaw and see what they are saying. Here we've got the photos of the connectors. So let's see what we have. We've got this one here. This is the JK-B1A or B2A. 1 amp active balance current or 2 amps active balance current. The one we have is the 2 amp active balance current version. At least I hope so. Yeah, and you can see here, this is the heating function. Needs customization. I think this means you need to order this specifically like this with a heater function. Okay, I've got the dimensions here. Yeah, these are the product specifications. And right in the middle here is the B1A and the B2A. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit into these two. And you can see they are exactly the same BMSs except for the balance current 1 amp and 2 amp. So 4S to 8S, 0.3 milliohms is the turn-on internal resistance of the BMS, 200 amp continuously and 350 amp for maximum 2 minutes. That's quite long. And this is the overcharge protection current you can set from 10 amp to 200 amp. RS485, and the heating is optional. Got the dimensions here, 1 to 5 volts. And then here the overcharge protection voltage, overcharge release voltage. All these parameters are adjustable as we know it from most BMSs. We've got 3 temperature sensors, 1 internally, 2 externally. Temperature protection, yes. Short circuit protection, yes. Column counter, yes. Support for Android and iOS mobile phones. Fantastic. So here in the overview you can also see this is the same specifications as the other BMSs they have. So it uses basically the same MOSFET transistors in the BMS as all the other devices they have. And hence we get the amazing 200 amp continuous current with this BMS as well. And apart from all these specifications, we can see this is the open sandwich design they have used for this BMS. So it's not the nice black enclosure as we know it from the other JK-BMSs. But that's totally fine. I'm happy with that. Gives you enough cooling, no problem. Here on this side we can see the MOSFET, the power MOSFET transistors. And when you look alongside the BMS, you can potentially see how the aluminium is bended, right, on both sides. So they're actually putting a bit of pressure on this PCB here to have a good thermal connection from the MOSFETs to the case. The only concerning thing about this design here is that the MOSFET contacts are actually fairly close to our terminals here. And because the ring lugs are a bit overlapping, they're coming fairly close to these MOSFET contacts there. So you need to be careful when you mount this stuff. No, it should be fine. I'm overreacting here. It's totally fine. No problem. There's enough space. All good. So what we are going to do is we are using all the equipment which came with the BMS. I'm not replacing any cables or something. We're using the 7-gauge wire, 2 of them on each side of the BMS, using the standard balance cables and using the display and all the accessories which came with the BMS as per default. They have put an 8mm ring lug on one end already. I'll put a 6mm on the other side, so it fits perfectly our connections here on the PCB, and we can use the 8mm for our testing then later on. The only thing I just realized is they have actually used electrical tape here instead of heat shrink for their crimping. Are they trying to hide something? No, looks all good. Okay, let me do the crimping first and then I'm back. And here we've got the balance cable connector with our plug, which is our battery negative, and then positive battery 1, positive battery 2, positive battery 3, positive battery 4. And this is all we need, but we also need the very last one here to connect to our battery positive. This is the power supply for the BMS. That's why we have 2 cables in this ring lug. This is battery cell number 4, and they are both connected to the main positive of the battery. Okay, I would say let's connect this all to our battery over there, and then we turn it on for the very first time. I'm very excited. If we scroll further down on the website, we can find more information about the BMS and also, very important, the wiring diagrams for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8S configuration. And the JK-BMS is exceptional easy to wire. Obviously in an 8S configuration you're using all of the wires from B negative to B positive. And here in the 4S configuration you're only using the first 4 wires because you have only 4 batteries. So you don't need to do any acrobatics here to connect the BMS like in other BMSs, the QUCC or the Heltec BMS, where you have to merge several cables together. And you have to be very, very careful how to connect. But here it seems very, very straightforward. So again, very beginner friendly. So we will have our main negative of the battery down here and can use a bus bar on this side. And the next bus bar on this side. And the last bus bar on this end. So we start with the main negative, is our plug cable, and this will be connected together with our 2 plug power cables. And next is the first red wire, which goes to our first positive of the battery pack. Second red wire, positive of the second battery. Third red wire, positive of the third battery. Fourth red wire and the last red wire are together in one ring terminal, and the fourth wire goes to the positive of the fourth battery, which is our main positive of the whole pack. And all the other 4 wires are not needed at the moment because we've got only a 4S battery. If you have an 8S or anything in between, you need these other cables as well, and continue connecting them in the same method as the 4S configuration here. So next step is to connect our negative power cables coming from the battery to the B- of the BMS. I very much like this setup with the screw terminals. It is great. Okay, that is not ideal. It should be a little bit higher. Yeah, that's better. 50 by 8. Look at this. That would fit on this BMS easily. How good is that? 70 by 80. I mean, come on, I can't poke my finger in here. That's a really big cable, right? Guess what? No problem. They would fit. I probably would file down this corner a little bit here because they're going really into the BMS there, and the legs of the MOSFETs are very close then, but that would fit. 70mm cable you can easily connect now to your JK-BMS. That is incredible. These screw terminals on both sides are such an improvement. Amazing. So before we connect our balance cables to the BMS, we should measure and make sure the order of the connections are correct. So you want to use a voltmeter and use your negative probe on the black cable, which is our main negative of the battery, and then use the other side of the probe to measure the first positive. And this should measure across the first battery cell, which gives us 3.3 volts. And now we are measuring from the negative to the second one, which should give us the first two batteries. So 3.3 plus 3.3, 6.6, and then the third battery included. So 3 times 3.3 should be almost 10 volts. And then the last one is the whole battery across all 4 cells, should be around 13 volts. And don't forget to measure the very last one of your balance leads. This should measure 13.3 as well. This is the power supply for your BMS. And all the balance leads in between don't have any voltage because they are just not connected, because we don't need them. Okay, perfect. Regardless what BMS you are using, you should always measure your balance cables before you plug them into the BMS and make sure they are 100% correctly connected. Otherwise, it could destroy your BMS in 1 second. Okay, so we plug in our display port to this side, and the other side connects to this round connector. Let's quickly see how this works. It just slides in. Now we've got these 2 longer screws here to hold it in place. Now they're going in from the other side. And then you've got 2 more screws here so you can mount it on your battery box or somewhere else. The cable is fairly long. I guess this is a 2-meter cable at least. So just for the sake of connecting them, I just screw down this blue cable here as well. So here's the whole setup again. You've got your battery here, you've got your negative cables going to the B- of the BMS, and the P- goes to your load and charger. So this is where you connect your inverter and your solar charge controller or your grid charger. Everything gets connected over here, nothing on this side anymore, apart from the positive. So you got your positive of the battery over here and the negative on this side, and the BMS is in between and can disrupt the connection to your negative of the battery. In case one of the cells goes too high, one of the cells goes too low, the pack gets too warm, or you even have a short and overcurrent situation, the BMS will turn off. And this is the main reason you will always use a BMS. It protects your battery and also takes care of the maintenance of your battery pack. Okay, well guys, then it's time to plug in the balance leads, and we should probably see something on the display, or maybe not before I press the button, I don't know. Alright, nothing has happened. See, with the old style BMS, with the JK-BMS, you have to apply a 5-volt voltage now onto these contacts here to start the BMS, but this one here has a display and a power button. So we should just press the power button now and see the display coming on, and this should also start our BMS. It beeps. There we go, it beeps. The display is not very bright. It's much better on camera than in real. 13.2 volts. Error number 9. 0% state of charge, 0 amps, and then it turns off again. All right. How do we... Can we also turn off the BMS by long pressing it, maybe? You can. So you can turn off the BMS by long pressing it, holding, and release. Yep. So you have to hold it for about 10 seconds and then the BMS turns off, and another press, it turns it back on. And a short press is toggling the display on and off. We also have a red LED flashing here. And this red flashing LED is exactly the same as we have in our large JK-BMS. You can see the reflection there. See, it's red flashing. And once you connect via the Bluetooth app, it actually lights up solid. Okay, let's start the app and see if we can detect another battery apart from the battery number 2. No, we can't. Why can't we? There should be another BMS. Guys, it is now showing up in the app. I had to contact Hankso actually. So it took a few hours to get a response, but apparently my app was too old. I was still on version 3.74 something, and the new BMSs, they need the newer version 4. I linked this all down below, and the link will also be on my website under the Hankso BMS. Okay, let's connect to the JK-B2A8S 20P. Oh, the BMS beeps, and it is connecting. Nice! Cell count is not equal to settings. This is probably the error message we can see here on the display. Oh no, it has, yeah, error 9 it says, see? Error 9. Alright. How does this all work? Oh, I'm so excited. Settings. Ah, here, cell count. Okay, verify password. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Verify. And then we can go in here to 4, okay? Okay, we go back to status. And this is all good. And the error has disappeared. Look at this. No error message anymore. It is working. I'm so excited. Okay, charge is off and discharge is off. Okay, let's go into control. Turn charge on, turn discharge on. What is emergency? What is emergency? That is new. I'm not sure what that is. I'll leave it off. We don't have an emergency here. Okay, battery capacity is 105 ampere hours. Okay. Balance trigger voltage 10 millivolt. We can potentially go down to 5 millivolt. Calibration voltage, calibration current. Okay, advanced settings. Cell over voltage protection 4.2 volts. Ooh, stupid me. I need to click on lithium iron phosphate, of course. Okay, I need to set everything again. Cell count 105. Okay, and here 1.5 millivolt. Okay, cell under voltage protection 2. Why is this? What's going on here? I don't know. Why can I set this? This why. 2.45. And now we can set this one, and now we can set this one to 2.7. Now it works. Okay. Start balance 3.45. Balance current 2 amps. Maximum charge current. Ooh, we can charge these ones with 100 amps actually, these cells. Charge over current protection delay 30 seconds. Okay. Max discharge current 200 amps. Yeah, that's correct. Discharge over current protection delay 300 seconds. That's 5 minutes. Exactly. That's exactly what the BMS can. Okay, all the temperatures, I'm not too worried about it at the moment. Use private data. What is that? I have no idea what that is. And this is the resistance for the wires if you want to change this, but I don't see the point of it. Okay, everything else should be okay. So let's measure the voltage. And on the far side positive, Yep, we've got the 13.6 volts. So it has turned on already. It is ready to go. Oh, I'm excited. So what voltage do we have? 13.36. And it sits on 13.32. This is close enough. This one shows 13.3. 73%. Yeah, that could be actually. Okay, let's connect our power supply. 14.4 volts, perfect. Connecting both. 5 amps we are charging. Let's see what the app says. 4.8. What do we have? 5.1. There it is, 5.1. Okay, so we go into the settings, calibrate the current to 5.1. Okay. There we go, 5.1, calibrated. How good is this BMS? And if we go into control and turn off discharging, now I turn off charging, of course. Bam, 0 amps. Turn it back on. Yeah, no explosion this time. Current 5 amps. Nice. Let me quickly turn on this one here, and we can charge with 20 amps into the batteries. This one takes too long. So I have set 14.4 volts and 21 amps on it. Connect the positive over here and the negative on the other side at our P- connection to the BMS. And now let's turn on charging. 21 amps. All right, let's have a look. 3.4 volts. Oh, we have cell number 3 running away. So we should see the balancer actually kicking in any second at 3.45. Nice unbalance. That is good. That is from my last testing with these battery cells. It's got a deviation of 47 millivolts. Yeah, I think the BMS has turned off now. I can see 0 amps on the power supply. Yeah, we lost connection. Alright, that works. Turn it back on. Now we need to connect the app again. Scan. Connect. There we go. Balancing has just triggered. And we are discharging cell number 3, which is blue and flashing. Blue means it's the highest voltage cell, and flashing means it gets balanced. So it's now charging the internal supercapacitor inside the JK-BMS. Once this is fully charged, like now, it discharges this energy into the red cell, which is our lowest voltage cell. And it will do the balancing until all the battery cells are under 3.45 volts or under 5 millivolt deviation, what we have set there. Wow, that is nice. I could watch this all day long. 2 amps into cell number 2. Yeah, actually, let's measure cell number 2 here. So we should see, yeah, we can see 1.3 amps. Oh, you can't see anything here. 1.4 amps, 1.5 I can see. 1.5 amps getting discharged. And now we can see 1.5 amp going into cell number. Can you actually see anything? Yeah, 1.5 amps. It's not quite 2 amps. The app says 2 amps minus, yeah, minus 2 amps, but it's only 1.4 amps. So the question is, can we prevent the BMS from turning off because cell number 3 is getting a high voltage at 3.65 volt? Is the balancer strong enough? I'm actually not sure what state of charge the other cells are in, but I guess we will find out soon. Okay, let's leave this running for a while here, and I'll be back when it gets interesting. Still on 14.4 volts, but the current has tapered off to half an amp only. And in the BMS we can see all the cells are now balanced almost. We are at 18 millivolt deviation. Balancer is still working on it. but under 5 it will stop anyway then. So all the cells are now balanced. We can potentially go a little bit higher with the voltage now. 14.6. So there we go, 14.5 volts. And all the cells are balanced. Balancer has turned off. We are under 5 millivolt deviation. Everything is top balanced now and fully charged. So what are we doing with all this energy now? Should we try a 200 amp discharge from this BMS and this battery with these cables? I think we should. Okay, here's our setup. We've got the JK-BMS connected to our 4S battery, and we've got the 3 kilowatt Renogy inverter here. And this all is, and the load on the inverter is our power supply, which is connected to our big battery, bus bar, circuit breaker, 25 amp, going into our big battery bank. So I set this one to 56.5 volts and 21 amps. So I probably go a little bit lower at the beginning, just to make sure everything is working. So we can see the DC power is 21 watts. And if I turn this one on, it is actually supplying power now to the big battery, and we can see it's a minus 30 watts now going into the big battery. So if I increase the current, it should be around 250, 240 watts. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. So screen recorder is running. This is all good. This is all nice. We should, yeah, we will have a look with the infrared camera a little bit later. So at the moment it's hand warm, I would say. No, it's around 24, 25 degrees only, which is 75 in F. So yeah, that's a 20 amp, 29 amp discharge already for this battery. The battery, by the way, the EVE 105 ampere hour can be discharged with 3C. Can you imagine this small battery, 3C, that's 300 amp. And these are only M4 bus bars it comes with. I found this incredible. I actually don't like this, so we have to watch the battery as well a bit. See if these tiny bus bars here are getting warm with an M4 terminal. Okay, I would say let's crank this one up to 10 amps. That's 50 amps, 60 amps almost. Ah, the fan. The fan comes on. And look at the deviation. We've got 130 millivolt deviation here. Why is that? Number 3 is low. Okay. Let's turn off the current here for a moment. Number 3 is low. Checking the terminals again. Number 3. Sure, they are all nice and tight. Okay, let's go back to 10 amps. Let's see if number 3 is fixed. It is fixed. It is now number 4. Okay, let's do the same with number 4. Yeah, look at this, fixed. I'm the bus bar terminal fixer. 23 milliamps at 50. Okay, let's get a bit higher, 50 amps only. Okay, that should give us to about 80 or so, maybe. Yeah, 81. Nice. Just need to check all the connections here. So we are not going into any problems. Yeah, so far so good. 80 amps, no problem. And of course the JK-BMS sits on a cardboard box now, which is a bit of an isolator, right? We should this here, so there's a bit of airflow now underneath, which is, I think, fair. Because the MOSFETs, they are cooling to both sides, to the top and to the bottom. Okay, 82, let's go a bit higher. Wow. That's the inverter. The Renogy inverter is turning off sometimes because of I don't know, low voltage or over something, no idea. Okay, let's turn it back on. 18. Oh, why is this happening? Why? I'm getting actually a different inverter now because this is happening all the time. I cannot really pull, only with a power supply. If I connect the car, it's working fine. Okay, let's connect the car. Okay, so we are now charging the Tesla from this battery and the BMS. 100 amps, this is the minimum setting the car has. And it works just fine. See, that's 100 amps. Let's go one step higher. 6 amps, which is 102 now. 113, 114, 124. It's just 1 amp more. It is from 12 volt. I always cannot believe that I charged the Tesla with these thin wires here. That is amazing. They're not too bad actually. Okay, let's crank it up. Go to 7 amps, which will be around 150, 160 maybe. 150 amps. That is amazing. 150 amps. We are pulling. Okay, let's go one higher. That's the highest setting I can do anyway. 8 amps. Should be close to 180. 172. Okay, what I can do now is I can turn on my power supply and set this one to maybe 5 amps or so. On top of that, okay, here comes another 200 amps we are. Okay, let's crank it up to 10. 230 amps, 240 amps. So we can do this for 5 minutes then, and then, wow. MOSFET temperature, 43 degrees. Look at this on the BMS. It is vibrating. When I put my hand on it, I can feel vibration. 140 amps. Okay, I'll probably turn this down a little bit now. That's scary. It is scary shit here. Something is smelling. There could be the bus bars actually. Let's 140 amps. Let's use the thermal camera and have a look. Okay, so this is 200 amps from the 4S BMS, the JK-BMS. That is nice. And I charge the Tesla full power with this adapter on 8 amps. I really cannot imagine to pull 3C from this battery here. I mean, this is already 2C now with 200 amps, but another C on top of it. I don't think these bus bars or these screw connectors are actually made for that. But I may be wrong. We should try it at some stage. We should really pull 3C from this battery pack and see how it performs. They are nice and cozy warm. Ooh, nice. Here 55, oh no, 70 degrees the bus bars. This one has cooled down. Maybe this one has the same issue. If I crank this a little bit up here, we may see better. Yeah, so 200 amps with this BMS, you need some cooling. You need a good cooling option for this BMS. Remaining capacity 65.8 ampere hours it says. So we've got half depleted the battery within 10 minutes. Oh. Okay, that was something. Magic smoke. Because we were over 200 amps all the time, right? The BMS seems to work fine. What was the actual problem here? But I cannot really tell what it was. I thought it was the BMS, but the BMS still seems to work. Protection discharge overcount. Yeah, see, it sets on 200 amps for 5 minutes or so. And we have actually pulled 203 amps all the time. and then the BMS turned off. So I probably have destroyed the BMS now, because the MOSFETs have turned off and got destroyed while they disconnected this high current. I would say I need a new BMS because the inverter has turned off, right? Okay, let's unplug the load. Oh no, it still works. Still works, but something has clearly popped. Well, we still can pull energy here. Now this is all working. What was that? I'm scared. Yeah, that smells. There's something not all right. I probably have destroyed one or a couple of the MOSFETs. The discharge MOSFETs. Because we clearly can still pull 30 amps here. But let's go a bit higher and see what's happening. See if we can. Almost 60 amps. If some of the discharge MOSFETs are broken now and all the current goes through the remaining MOSFETs, they should break as well, right? Soon. Okay, let's go a bit higher. 15. Yeah, and this is my... So guys, I would say even this is a 200 amp continuous current BMS, I would not recommend to use it for 200 amps for too long. Because as you have seen, if the MOSFETs are disconnecting these 200 amps, obviously this is not so healthy for the MOSFETs. So I'm still not 100% sure what has happened. I would need to open the whole case and have a look at the MOSFETs and see if we can see any burn marks or so. Any plaque marks on the PCB or so. I'm not sure what has popped, but everything seems to work fine. Okay, so we are now doing the over temperature disconnect test. The over temperature sits at 70 degrees. Yep, there it is. Ah, now there, it's temperature 1. 78 degrees, 85, it is still. Ah, yeah, here we go. It has turned off. Click to view all alarm. Protection over temperature, discharge over temperature. It has turned both off, charging and discharging, because we reached 70 degrees. Oh yeah, it turns back on. Below 60 degrees it turns back on. Nice. Yeah, this all works fine. Damn it, I just missed the low voltage disconnect. I could hear it beeping and I came into the garage and it was already off. So here we can see cell number 1, 2.5 volts, and the BMS has correctly disconnected our whole system perfectly fine. Someone recently left a comment under my video and said, well, this is exactly the point now where you should turn on your active balancer to balance out these cells and make sure you can actually use the full capacity of your battery then. Now, you don't turn on the active balancer when your battery is already depleted, because the capacity gain you will get from that is 1.5%. That is all. So we could actually discharge here the full 104 ampere hours of this battery now. That's the cycle capacity. Remaining capacity is 0. Remaining battery percentage, state of charge, 0%. Everything is on 0. Okay, I think 21 amps and go. All right, we are now recharging the battery with 21 amps just for a moment. Okay, I think let's do the low voltage temperature, now the low temperature disconnect. Let's do the low temperature disconnect to conclude all our tests. And in one of the final tests with the 4S version of the JK-BMS, we want to do the only worldwide approved and recognized under temperature disconnect test. I have prepared the test setup already. We can start right away. Okay, as you can see, we are charging with 5 amps at the moment, and we are now pouring an ice cold calibrated SPAT on temperature sensor number 1, and at 5 degrees it should stop charging. 4.1, 3.1, and there we go. Guys, it worked! Okay, let's see if it turns on again at about 10 degrees. 9.1, 11, and charging continues. Perfect. Well, if this is not something to celebrate. So cold. I don't know. Sometimes the display stays on and then it turns off again automatically after a few seconds. I'm not sure what the actual... But guys, to be honest, the power switch is actually overrated. I have never ever restarted my JK-BMS since the beginning when we set up this battery. It's running 24/7 for the last, well, how many months? You know, you start it and then it runs. Such a button makes sense in a mobile situation when you have a mobile battery or you disconnect the battery frequently from your BMS. But in a stationary setup, it is turned on anyway. So who cares if you have to connect a 9-volt battery at the beginning to start it up once and then it runs forever? To answer some of the questions under my videos, it is not worth just buying a new JK-BMS with the display and the power button if you already have a JK-BMS. Definitely 100% not worth buying a new one just for this function. Yeah guys, alright. I think so far the first testing with the JK-BMS 4S version, 4 to 8S version. We don't need any boost converter, any boost power supply anymore. This all runs straight away now with a 12-volt battery. And we could pull 230 amps from this BMS. All the usual overcharge and over temperature, over voltage, over undercurrent situation tests. It passed them all. So if you are after a fantastic BMS, the JK-BMS is certainly the way to go. And now available as a 4S-8S edition. Don't forget, Hankstore gives you a $10 discount voucher for everything you purchase in their store over $100 US. As I said in the beginning, I'll link all the information down under the video and on my website as well. And as always guys, thank you for watching. Thanks for all your amazing support here on the channel. I really appreciate all your comments. I'm always looking forward to read them. And I really try to respond to as many as possible. And until the next video guys, you stay charged, stay safe, and thanks for watching again. See you then. Bye bye.